Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another tropical outlook and forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. And it's gonna be my second upload of today, so you guys can get more updates on what we had. Tropical Storm Elsa as a 2 p.m. advisory came out a few hours ago, and the 5 p.m. advisory will come out in around an hour or and a half whenever you're watching this video. So basically, I'm kind of doing this update so you guys can get a look at what we have and what has changed and all that. And I'm deciding to post a second video today so you guys can just get a better idea as Elsa is continuing to become a bigger threat to a portion of the Caribbean and getting closer to the Windward Islands, and as well questioning whether the United States can get some major impacts by this. So if you guys are expected to get hit by Elsa at some point, I would recommend you guys watch this whole video to get an update on the cone expected peak, areas that can get impacted, the general effects, and just all that, so you guys can get updated on this system. But before we get into the video, I recommend subscribing, hitting that like button, commenting if you have any questions, and as well, be sure to smash that bell icon. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Here's looking at the latest 2 p.m. Eastern Time update. So this is the 2 p.m. advisory. The next advisory will be at 5 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, this video will be out just before the 5 p.m. Obviously, I would be waiting for the 5 p.m. advisory to do a video. The thing is, I'm gonna get very, very busy after this video, so that's exactly why I decided to make it now. So there we have Tropical Storm Elsa. Nothing has really changed except the minimal center pressure. So it's still at 45 miles an hour, but the minimal center pressure is now at 1,005 millibars. At the 11 a.m. update advisory, which is when I had my first video today, it was at 1,006, and now it's continuing to drop pressure-wise. It has not increase in speed whatsoever at this point. It's still at 28 miles an hour. If anything, it's expected to start slowing down, and it is now heading west-northwest. You're probably thinking, if it was going west earlier, wouldn't it do like a Gonzalo, just die in South America? Will that happen? Like, if it goes west like that, it will die in South America. Well, now it's finally going west-northwest. So it's kind of going towards a more southern track. And again, the National Hurricane Center and cones and models are taking it toward a more southern track, which is why we're going to be watching out for Jamaica, Cuba, and two portions of the Florida Big Bend. And then, this is exactly kind of the track we're going to be watching out for. So Havana, Jamaica, Florida, you guys are the main areas to watch out for. But no, it's not going to do a Gonzalo and just die out when it has such potential. So Elsa right now, 45 miles an hour, expected to be, I believe, 60 at landfall for the Windward Islands later tomorrow morning. Located at 52.6 degrees west, so it's finally getting towards the range where recon can go in. Recon's flying in tomorrow, so it's going to definitely be very, very interesting what we get. Let's now go and get a look here at the visible IR, visible satellite imagery here on Tropical Storm Elsa, and it does look very, very good at this point. So there we have that low level circulation LLC right there for a portion of the Tropical Storm Elsa. You can kind of see that's exactly where we have that low. You can kind of see that vorticity, that where we see that most around of center vorticity with that kind of clockwise spin. This is kind of where our low is, so it is somewhat a little bit more to the open. However, we are seeing some potential at this point for the northwestern quadrant. We have some very good banding stretching from the western quadrant. There you see that kind of clockwise spin going around that low. So this thing's definitely fully tropical. It's looking very, very good for a 45 mile an hour tropical storm. The only thing is there is dry air coming in that's wrapping around from the northeast, and it's going to be most likely getting very, very close to that current low pressure. However, again, the thing does have a pretty large moisture bubble since it did come from a tropical wave, so there shouldn't be a big problem with that. But overall, it looks pretty good. Let's now go and get a look here at the now IR forecast. We can see how the convection is looking here, and the convection is not looking too shabby at all. So there we see our maximum is convection, or highest convection values is basically around negative 70 degrees Celsius, maybe negative 75 degrees Celsius cloud tops. So this thing is definitely having some very good cloud tops showing. We're definitely seeing some really, really good thunderstorms developing, and that is where we are starting to see that lightning strikes come in. But of course, our main area of that low is going to be kind of right here where we see that vorticity of that kind of clockwise vorticity slash spin. So as at this point, it's not looking too shabby. We are going to be looking at for some based on microwave, we are going to see some good amount of convection and overall storms blow up in the northwest quadrant, which could help definitely protect the storm from that dry air, which is coming from the Saharan dust. but at this point, it's not looking too shabby at all. Here's looking now at the 2 p.m. advisory. The 2 p.m. advisory, I believe that's Atlantic Standard Time. AST is Atlantic Standard Time. So that's kind of where the system is. So this is a 2 p.m. advisory. Not much has really changed except that it has once again kind of dipped into a more a more kind of western trend. So there is a little bit more of a western trend with this latest update, 2 p.m. advisory, but at this point, it's not anything too crazy or dramatic. So we now still have those widespread tropical warnings. So those warnings have become a lot more widespread. Again, the storm may just go south of Barbados and then affect areas just out of Antigua. We have those warnings now. So we do have a lot less watches. We only had a few of those lesser to the islands, including Barbados, have those warnings. But now almost all of them have these warnings as the storm is becoming it's definitely getting added together, but we only have one small area where we have a watch, and that's because that area where where it's going to be on the southern quadrant isn't going to have many effects. The worst quadrants within this specific system will be the northern and the eastern quadrant, and that's why we do have those warnings pushing northward, because that wind field will be a lot larger. You can even see it here. A lot of those wind field winds are from the northern and eastern quadrants. So the southern quadrant's not much. So if it's going to go like this, of course, this area really won't get tropical storm wind sustains. Maybe only tropical storm wind gusts. And that's going to continue. I believe they're showing a 60 mile an hour landfall for the Windward Islands. That's last of my checks, but I may be wrong for the update. But then it has all Friday, much of Saturday, in those warm southeastern Caribbean waters. So this will be its best chance between the Windward Islands and the Greater Antilles. Is its best chance to get its peak strength, which I believe the National Hurricane had at 60 miles an hour earlier today. At 8 a.m. it was 65 miles an hour, but they ever so slightly just decrease it to 60. But I do think by either 5 or 8 they will increase it back to 65 based on how it's doing. And it looks like it's going to continue to kind of skim the coast of Haiti. For some reason, I believe the National Hurricane has to push it a little bit further north compared to Jamaica, but it's not that far from Jamaica at all. GFS and other models are starting to trend toward Jamaica landfall, so it's going to get very close. So if you're in Jamaica, I would definitely keep a very close eye on this, because although it won't be intense or a major hurricane, it's still going to bring in some impacts and very heavy rain, gusty wind. So just keep a close eye on it if you're in Jamaica. And if you know anybody that lives in Jamaica, whether it's friends or family, I recommend you guys do share this video to them so they can get it updated. And that's going to be by Sunday in the morning, so it's going to be the morning of July 4th. Obviously, they don't celebrate July 4th if you're in Jamaica, but still the morning of July 4th. And then by 8 a.m. Monday here, July 5th, it's going to be making a landfall for a portion of the central Cuba. I honestly think this track from the National Hurricane Center is a little bit towards too much to the east. I really think, to be honest, I do think it's going to kind of, obviously it's going to go like this, and I think it's going to make landfall for northern Jamaica, and then go for areas like Havana, and then like that. Well, obviously, I don't want a dramatic turn like that, but, you know, I kind of want to see, I think it's going to maybe like Jamaica, hit Havana, and then turn like this. This is what I'm starting to think. So maybe we can start seeing a little bit more of a western shift, a more dramatic western shift. Because I do not think this will hit the Keys. I do not think this will hit Naples. I don't think it will hit Sarasota. If anything, I'm watching out for areas like Big Bend, Tallahassee, Gainesville, Florida, even southern Georgia, even Jacksonville, I'm watching out for. But let's not go ahead and get a look here at the actual cone and wind. So this is obviously at 45 miles an hour at this point. This is as a 2 p.m. update, and they still have this making landfall for Barbados at 60 miles an hour. Then continuing to be 60 throughout much of the Caribbean, and then weakening to 50 once it gets to those Greater Antilles before Jamaica. It could be weakening to 50 because of land traction from Hispaniola, and then it goes back to 60 before a landfall in Cuba, and then staying at 60. So I do think they're gonna bump it up to back to 65 for some areas. Let's not go ahead and look at the tropical storm Elsa 2 p.m. AST time frame. Let me actually move my screen a little bit more so you guys can get a better look at where the storm is. So here it is right now. It's not too far, obviously, since it's moving basically 28 miles an hour west-northwestward. It's going to get there really, really soon. So Barbados and much of the Lesser Antilles are under tropical storm warnings now. Antigua and those watches up there have been canceled for a great reason because of that southern shift. So it's going to kind of go like this. So there's no reason to have watches all the way up here, because the worst of it, and if anything, if it goes like this, it will be the worst right here because of that upper northeast quadrant, and then we still have that tropical storm watch down there, just to the north of the Venezuela region. And let's now go ahead and get a look at the arrival, the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm winds, and as well as looking at the chance for receiving tropical storm winds, 39 plus miles an hour. So obviously we have a big, large 90-100% chance. Areas there in Barbados do have a 80-90%, and then we have a large 40 to 50, 50 to 60 going all the way up into portions of the Southern Caribbean, and we already now have up to a 20 to 30% for a portion of Cuba and the Florida Keys. So we're looking at timing for tropical winds by basically Friday 2 p.m. For portions of the Lesser Antilles, and then the worst of it will be, that's Friday 2 a.m. By tomorrow, early morning, 2 in the morning, that's where we're going to start seeing those winds arriving into Barbados. And then by the time we get to now Friday, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. is where we'll be seeing those direct winds making impacts into portions of the Barbados and Lesser Antilles region. We may even see a small chance for tropical winds, maybe even gusts for a portion of Puerto Rico, but if anything, it's going to be way off the coast. But by Friday, 8 a.m. again for portions of Lesser Antilles. By Friday 8 p.m. gonna get in towards portions of the southeastern Caribbean, and then we're gonna start seeing maybe some tropical winds for the southern coast of Hispaniola by Saturday morning, and then gonna start seeing those gusty winds arriving in Cuba by Saturday 8 p.m. Sunday 8 a.m. and then gonna start seeing those winds arriving into Florida and the Keys by Sunday at 8 p.m. Let's now go and get a look at the microwave IR so you can kind of see at this point. Let's wait for this restart. So at that point, we didn't have much for a few hours ago, but now we're starting to see a lot of that convection overall storms and temperature brightness overall kind of increasing for portions of the southern quadrant. But watch that latest update. We're kind of starting to see something interesting forming into the northwest quadrant. So it looks like we're starting to see some covering up and even banding developing in the northwest quadrant, so that can very well help this storm kind of completely close off and protect it from that future shear and dry air problem, which is going to be to the north central of this actual low and kind of north of the actual system itself. So obviously the eastern quadrants itself look very, very good at this point, but we're kind of still very open within that western quadrant. But now we're starting to see something develop in that latest update. That latest run's very minimal, but we're starting to see something, at least a trend for something that is interesting in that northwest quadrant. Let's get looking at the tropical storm Elsa model intensity guidance, and this is now the latest update on the 18Z. So this is actually new as well. So there it is, sitting at 40 knots or 45 miles an hour. And look at this big change. A ton of models are now increasing it dramatically to a Category 1, and we now have up to 2 models getting it to a Category 2. But guess what they are? Obviously, it's going to be the NNIC and the HWRF, which is HWFI. So, of course, those two models to overreact because the NSIC loves overreacting and wants to get to a Category 3 2 times, which we all know will not happen. So, obviously, we're maybe watching out for a minimal Category 1, if anything, maybe 75, 80 miles an hour. But I do not see Category 2 with this based on the speeds moving and how much land interaction it will have in the Caribbean. So, a lot of the models obviously want to kind of keep it towards a pretty strong to moderate tropical storm to getting into a Category 1. So, if we can get a rough count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 models getting to a Category 1, while we have a few more kind of just keeping at a weak tropical storm, which is obviously not going to be too reasonable considering it's going to be forecasted to slow down. Let's look at the latest 18Z tracks, and it looks like we're seeing a bit more western trends because obviously yesterday we were seeing models going to Georgia, Bahamas a little bit, but now we're kind of getting a better idea. And look at this southern shift. The reason why we are seeing a western shift is because of that relocation of that low to the south. So now it's going to go south of Barbados. It's going to kind of allow, and that's exactly why those watches up here were canceled. And that's exactly why we have so many warnings. It's one little watch, because that one little watch is just that county, that little country or little island right down there, which will not get anything at all. So landfall forecasted to be within the next maybe 18 hours or so. So keep an eye on tomorrow late morning to mid morning for this time frame. By 48 hours, it's going to be just south of Hispaniola. But as you can see, a lot of the majority want to keep this getting a lot further south of Hispaniola which will allow the storm to get better strength and overall better chance of becoming a strong storm before making landfall on Jamaica. So you can kind of see Jamaica's completely covered. I mean, it's completely covered with these model tracks. You can't even see the actual island itself. So if you're in Jamaica, I would definitely watch out because it's expected to make landfall possibly within the next 4 days in your region. And due to this southern shift, not only is Jamaica watching out, but even Havana, if you're in Havana, I would definitely watch out. If you're in Western Cuba, overall watch out because due to the southern shift, it's very unlikely to see any Keys landfall or southern Florida landfall. But it's more likely at this point to see a landfall for a Big Bend, and that's exactly why I did say I do think this national hurricane cone is a little bit too far east. Obviously, they don't want to push it so far west within one run, but I think they're going to gradually start pushing it further east. Or sorry, further west. Let's now go and get a look at the latest 12Z GFS. And when I was recording my first video, the 12Z was not even halfway out, so this is actually be new for those. So the 12Z has is making landfall basically at either 1,001 or 1,000 millibars for the areas of Barbados and with the southern and lesser Antilles. And then after that's going to start strengthening by the July 3rd, by tomorrow, basically. Tomorrow, no, sorry, July 3rd, which is not tomorrow. July 3rd is, what's today? I don't even know what today is. July 3rd, obviously. Just July 3rd, so 2 days from now. It's going to get up to 995 millibars. And then it's going to start getting up to 988 millibars by July 3rd once again. So it looks like July 3rd is going to be very interesting. And it's going to definitely take advantage of those warm waters and no land interaction. Obviously, since it's going to be staying south of East Venezuela and Dominican Republic and overall Haiti, it's going to allow for less land interaction, making it a better chance for it to continue to strengthen before it gets to Jamaica. So as we go later on here, alright, so as we go later on, you can kind of see this thing to get up to maybe 991 millibars just before landfall. So it has 986 by July 4th morning, and then it makes landfall in Jamaica by July 4th in the late morning for portions of Jamaica just south of southeastern Cuba. Then once again taking advantage of that really warm ocean heat content because of the almost 30 degrees Celsius waters, and it's going to allow for it to go maybe up to 984 millibars just before landfall, and then going to go just to the west of the Keys, may bring in some impacts for Key West and Key Largo. Going to be at 983 millibars, which will be its peak at that point pressure wise, and then continue to weaken up to 900 or continue to strengthen up to 979 millibars and make almost a direct landfall for Tampa Bay. And then it weakened a little bit there before land interaction for the Big Bend, going straight through Gainesville, going straight through portions of the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia. So it's going to definitely be something very interesting. Let's actually go really quickly towards the actual state of Florida so we can get an idea of what, just the rainfall, how intense it's going to be. So let's actually go a little bit a little further up. So here look at the rainfall. So as we go into July 4th. July 5th, July 6th. You can kind of see very intense rain by July 6th by the morning. So you're going to be seeing some really heavy rain for portions of that upper northeast quadrant. Obviously, that's going to be the most intense. And then we can kind of see those isobars are a lot tighter in that northern quadrant. So we're going to be seeing those stronger winds up there. So we're going to be really watching out overall for portions of Key West. As we continue on, 979 millibars, more intense rain for areas like Naples, Sarasota, getting to portions of Tampa Bay as well. So just overall, really watching out for this storm, not only for the Caribbean, but as well for the United States on the week of July 4th. Let's now go ahead and wait for this to load for us. I'm not sure my computer wants to go slow at this point. There we go. So vorticity for 500 millibars, which is the middle atmosphere. Vorticity not gonna look that bad actually. It's gonna be pretty overall centered, symmetrical. So it's not too bad whatsoever once it gets towards the Windward Islands and as well overall into the region of Barbados. So look at the vorticity though signature after landfall. This thing dramatically tightens up and overall gets a lot more wider. It's because these waters are going to be quite warm. Obviously going to be a lot less problems. We're going to be landfall and it is expected to start slowing down. Although still going to be very quick moving. It is going to start slowing down at this point after landfall, so it's going to give it advantage of strengthening. Same thing after Jamaica. It's going to have a pretty good amount of time before making landfall in Cuba, so it's going to have a ton of time to strengthen once again and obviously has a lot more time after with that into Florida. Let's go ahead and look at the vorticity signature though for the Florida region, because that vorticity signature is absolutely crazy. I mean, oops, I actually forgot they don't have vorticity. They don't have vorticity for states individually, so I should have knew that. Oopsie. All right, so let's now look at, see here, we're looking at the actual winds. This is 10-meter winds miles an hour and not knots. So as we look, as we go right to landfall, the GFS wants to have a landfall at around 64 miles an hour. So it's a bit stronger than what the National Hurricane Center wants to have. And then after that, it goes straight to 73 miles an hour. So that's definitely a lot stronger than what the GFS wants, up to maybe 12 miles an hour stronger. As it goes now, continuing to the Gulf of Mexico, not Gulf of Mexico, sorry, into the Southern Caribbean, and now strengthens up to 79 miles an hour. I mean, that's just absolutely crazy what the GFS wants. Skins the coast of Haiti. You can kind of see those stronger winds are going to be in that northern quadrant, so even effects are expected for Haiti. Going to get up to 83 miles an hour. I mean, this thing is just going absolutely mental, making landfall for Jamaica. Thankfully, if it does only hit the northern coast, the worst winds will be off the coast. So that would be the only good thing. But if it hits southern Jamaica, Jamaica's going to get hit very hard. As it now goes towards Cuba, it's going to continue at a high, or more like middle end category 1. And going to get up to, let's see here, at around 81 miles an hour, so at a category 1. And then after that's going to go straight for the Keys. So let's not go towards actual Florida so we can get a look here. Let's go to Florida, South Florida. Look at that. So already getting here up to maybe, let's see here, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds in mile an hour for the Key West, even up to already 30 miles an hour near Key Largo, which is just south of Homestead. As I go later on here into the July 6th late morning time frame, going to start getting gusts up to maybe 60 plus miles an hour for Key West, sorry. But the strongest winds will kind of stay just off the coast of Key West. I mean, we're going to be seeing up to 81 miles an hour according to the GFS, which I do doubt this. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit too overreacted, obviously. But as it gets very close to Tampa, it's going to start bringing in some very gusty winds, even just for areas like the Tampa region at the 50 to 60 miles an hour, and even bring some gusty winds into Orlando. Orlando may even experience some gusty winds up to maybe 20 to 40 miles an hour. Going to get up to maybe 70 miles an hour for portions of the Florida coast, and then it dramatically weakens. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and look at the actual rainfall forecast. So we are expecting a lot of rain from this system if it can load for us. There we go. So let's look at the 12Z. So it actually wants to have a ton of rain just outside of Key West. Wants to have, I believe, up to around 12 to 13 inches. But overall, big flooding expected as well. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.